Looks like we're live. Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, Jeet Kune Do Rebel, and welcome to episode number 97 of the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues. We will be on very shortly with Mike Gittleson of JKD Colorado. We'll just give him a few seconds to come on board here. All right. I hear noise.
Yeah. Yeah, I just got to get the headphones connected. Hang on.
Okay, no problem. Are you a technical guy?
No, Dan's my technical guy.
Well, it sounds good to me. Are
Does
you
it?
okay? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm all right like this. Yeah, we're good.
All right, cool. All right, well, so guys, this is Mike Gittleson of JKD Colorado. So he's been doing his thing quietly because I don't think I had heard of you until, and I forget who it was that said, you got to talk to Mike Gittleson. So you've been over there in the Centennial State, but aren't you a transplanted Californian?
No, actually, originally I grew up here in Colorado, and I
Oh,
lived
so
in
it's the
California.
other way around.
The other way around, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
we're
I
going to
lived
get
in
to the bottom
Colorado.
of that anyhow.
Okay.
So I wanted to start with this because I went through certain segments of your website and what have you, and it says that you, at age 10, you were in Jiu-Jitsu and Wing Chun. Is that correct?
Yes. You got it. Yep.
Yeah. So how much of that stuff plays a role in what you've been doing over the past 20 years?
To be honest with you, I had to unlearn a lot of stuff. I mean, mostly the Wing Chun.
Okay.
I can remember times, to begin with when I was beginning Gcondo and sparring, and everybody told me, you're moving just like a Wing Chun guy. And
Right.
I was very rigid,
Yeah.
and footwork was really tight.
Yeah.
And so I had to loosen up, and it took a while. It took quite a while.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you were in the Wing Chun, did you have any inklings about that there was other stuff?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I was lucky enough in that the studio that I trained in,
Mm-hmm.
we were pretty eclectic. We would bring people in from other styles and check them out. We had a judo guy come in, Thai boxer come in, etc. So
Yeah.
at a young age, I was exposed to a lot of different things, which was pretty cool.
Okay.
And I think that had a lot to do with my willingness to look at Gcondo and say, I don't want to do what I'm doing now. I want to continue to learn this, and I want to change.
Right.
And I think because I was open to all these different things, I'd seen a lot.
Yeah.
I was able to do that.
Yeah. Hey, are you able to adjust your phone a little bit? You got a lot of headroom. Can you get,
Let me.
yeah. It's the aesthetics of the thing,
All right, hang on.
All right. Yeah, if you can.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better. That's
Okay.
much better. All right. So the tagline on the JKD Colorado website says martial arts, fitness, and self-actualization. It's the last part that intrigues me the most. Why was it necessary to put self-actualization right front and center?
To me, I think, as far as martial arts go, whether it's Gcondo or Jiu-Jitsu or whatever you happen to be doing, I think self-actualization should be a huge part of it. It should be something that sometimes you realize it later on down the road as you get into it. You think you're getting into it for self-defense. You think you're getting into it for fitness. But later on down the road, you start to realize that I'm learning how to be myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning how to actualize myself
Mm-hmm.
and apply myself in different fashions. And I think it took me several years before I realized that the martial arts was doing that for me.
Yeah.
And that's why front and center, I think it's something people need to realize right off the bat.
Okay.
I think it's something that is great for you. It's great
Yeah.
for you all the way around.
Last week when I was on, we were talking about self-development, and in the comments, a guy was saying, well, everybody talks about personal development, but nobody ever breaks it down. So I don't want that to happen again. So for I forget the guy's name, but in case he watches this, break down what your definition of self-actualization is.
Self-actualization to me is realizing within yourself what your goals are, what you need to do to achieve those goals, come up with a step-by-step plan to achieve those goals, and then the ultimate goal is achievement. I mean, and it's kind of an enlightenment thing, and it maybe is never completely attainable. Maybe it's something that you'll never get to, but you're constantly trying to do that. It's self-betterment is what it is.
So it's in the striving that you learn.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And as Gcondo people, we talk about that. We talk about the journey.
Yeah.
And, well, in a lot of things, art in general,
Yeah.
the journey is more important than the end result.
Yeah.
And we as martial artists know that what is the end result? There
Yeah.
really isn't one.
I'll tell you a little secret. To me, besides Bruce Lee, the guy that I most identify with the quest for self-perfection when it comes to movement is Sifu Ted Wong.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And what I admired mostly about him was that he just approached it. I mean, you have more experience with him, but so this is my feelings. You correct me if I'm wrong. He approached it as a simple matter of fact thing. You wake up and here's what you do. You work on yourself. Am I on the right track?
Completely. And that's something that, he had that mindset where he was constantly trying to better himself. He was constantly trying to learn things. And he had a very inquisitive mind, which was really cool. And it wasn't just, Gcondo. He excelled at that. That was his passion. But he also played guitar. Anytime we drive down the road together, he'd look at something and he wanted to learn about it.
Right.
I'm a tree guy. I don't know if you know that or not, but
No.
I sell trees for a living. So we'd drive down the road. And he'd ask me, what kind of tree is that? And how big is it going to get? And he was really interested in it, it was cool.
Yeah.
I'd learned a lot from him just in that.
That's smarts of an appreciation for life and everything that's going on around you, huh?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And not to mention, cooking and, he loved life.
Right. Well, I think that beyond martial arts, that sounds like the perfect relationship to have with a martial art instructor, huh?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. What about a good butt kicking? Is that part of self-actualization as well?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's a big part of it. You bet. I mean, nothing teaches you about yourself more than what it's, when you get punched in the face.
Right.
And how you react.
Right.
And the more you get punched in the face and the more you learn about those reactions, it's great. I mean, it's great for self-actualization. You bet.
Listen, do you speak Spanish?
I do.
Oh, okay. All right. So then Esteban Dominguez of JKD Montreal, he said, por fin, una entrevista donde se hable de JKD tal y como es. All right. Now, for those of you on the line who don't speak Spanish, here's what Esteban said. At last, an interview where you talk about JKD just as it is. Right? Perfect. How did you learn Spanish?
Mostly my work. It was one of those things that I worked in restaurants for a long time before I got into the nursery business. And then in the nursery business, there's a lot of Hispanic workers.
Yes.
So in order to, help communicate with everybody, I had to learn Spanish. Well, I didn't have to.
Right.
It's one of those things I wanted to do. And that was part of my self-actualization.
Yeah,
I guess.
I was just going to say that. You're one of those guys, right? You do what has to be done, whether you want to do it or not.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is interesting because there's something along that line in the preface of Chris Kent and Tim Tackett's Jeet Kune Do book. You know, they talk about Jeet Kune Do being part of the deriving the ability to make your body do what you want it to do.
Right.
Yeah, you know. So also something I noticed on your website. It was I don't know if I wrote it down here. No, I don't think I did. But it was you were talking about Bruce Lee, and you were talking about his opinion that money was playing a detrimental role in martial arts stuff. So I wanted to ask you if you had any like personal experience with like martial arts charlatans or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, who hasn't really? If you've been around martial arts long enough, you've seen that kind of stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
I remember growing up. I mean, I saw it really early. I remember growing up. There was the school that I went to, which was, you know, it was about money. It was a school, and they had students that paid and all that kind of stuff, and it was a business. But it wasn't like a black belt factory. And it took me, I don't know, I was there for a long time. I mean, 10 years, 12 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And going through the ranks, I mean, I got to when I turned 18, they wouldn't let me have my black belt until I was 19. I had to wait. And even though I started when I was 10. And there was a school down the road, and Taekwondo school, of course, that was a black belt factory, you know, and they would charge you $2,000 and you would be part of their black belt club. Right. And then they would turn you out, and then I'd meet those guys. I'd go to school with them, or I'd, you know, whatever. I mean, they couldn't kick their way out of a paper bag.
Yeah.
And they were black belts.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, that started off early. And then, you know, later on down the road, I owned a school in California, and I taught Gcondo under Ted Wong's supervision.
Okay.
And during that time, I met a lot of people in the community, you know, with the other martial arts schools.
Yeah.
And they all talked to me about, you know, how to get their school to become successful. And it was all about contracts and selling belts and selling promotions and selling this. And none of that, they never talked about the art. They never talked about, you know, how we're going to get people better.
Good. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get them good. They never talked about that. That was never a concern. So with my school, I really kept the prices low and kept people coming in. And I think I lost a lot of students because my prices were too low. Right. And they thought that, you know, this guy's no good.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah. So, but I concentrated on quality, and it's kind of the same thing I do now. I mean, in Denver, I probably charge half of what everybody else does. Yeah.
Was the school in California a full-time gig, or were you?
It was for about 5 years. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you must have been doing something right at least for 5 years.
Yeah, I had a bunch of money saved up before I started. No, I turned a profit. I mean, not a major profit, but I turned a profit. And at that point, I had a wife and 2 kids, and it was, you know, hard. So that's why I quit. I mean, it's hard to make a living at it.
Yeah. Okay. And now JKD Colorado is not a full-time gig.
No, it's a sideline. I teach 2 nights a week.
Okay.
Dan Harris teaches 1 night a week.
Yeah, I like in his bio it says that JKD found him.
Yeah.
Yeah, just from reading that, I got the feeling that you're surrounded by a group of really like a tight knit group.
Definitely.
You know.
Definitely.
Hey, do you think the color orange on the walls helps?
That's a positive power color for sure. You know, the funny thing is it shows up really well in videos.
It does.
Yeah.
It does, right?
Which we didn't know that to begin with, but it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if there was like some female influence in the decor of the place or what.
Well, Dan's wife, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, see, sometimes it's good to have them around, boy.
Oh, yeah.
What, so how did you meet Ted Wong?
So originally, when I moved out to California, I kind of took a sabbatical from martial arts for a year or so, maybe 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided I was going to get back into it again. And I went to get gas at a gas station, and I saw this sign that said, teaching Jeet Kune Do and a phone number. So I called this guy. I'd never seen Gcondo. I didn't really know what it was. You know, from my Wing Chun experience, I was somewhat familiar with it, but not really.
Yeah.
And so I called this number, and who turned out to be a good friend of mine, Rick Monahan, and I don't know if you've heard of him or not, but
I know the name, yes.
Okay, so Rick and I went and studied with him for a while, and he was under Gary Dill. And then Rick and I trained together quite a bit, and then one day he said, Ted Wong is coming and doing a seminar in Oxnard, California. And at that point, I had no idea who Ted Wong was. And he said, you don't know who he is? Anyway, so we went to the seminar, and during that seminar, I was just, my jaw was hitting the floor. I was just amazed, flabbergasted at how smooth he was, how well he moved. And, you know, during that seminar, the whole time I couldn't help but think, you know, this is what I want. This is, I want to learn this. So after the seminar, Rick and I both approached him and said, hey, you know, are you looking for any students? And he said, yeah, here's my phone number. And that was it.
Wow.
And pretty easy. I didn't expect it to be that easy. Yeah. But it was pretty easy. And, you know, and kind of the rest is history.
Yeah. But you said you weren't aware of him. So what's your Bruce Lee history then?
I don't have much.
Oh. But you were in Wing Chun.
Right.
But I guess that's before the Ip Man era, so people didn't make the connection, huh?
Kind of. I mean, we knew, you know, when I was a kid, I knew, you know, who Bruce Lee was.
Right.
I knew, you know, Joe Cowles was part of our organization. William Chung later on took over, you know, who I was learning from.
Okay.
And William Chung's got a big following here in Colorado as well.
Okay.
But I was never, you know, I knew Bruce Lee's movies. I think I saw, you know, Enter the Dragon the first time in probably 1978.
Okay.
79, something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was in awe, of course. And, but I wasn't like a lot of you guys. And, you know, I'm not a collector. I'm not that kind of a person. You know, it was funny. I was joking with Dan about, because I watch your show, and a lot of the people on your show are people that collect stuff, and, you know, not to downplay them. I mean, that's great if that's what you do. But I was joking with Dan. I'm like, I'm going to show you my 3 things. You know, I've got a Bruce Lee bobblehead, and then I've got a picture from the scene of Enter the Dragon, and then I've got another thing that Mike Rudder actually gave me.
Oh,
and,
no, man.
And that's it.
Anytime you're ready to become a fanatic, just check with me. I'll help you out.
All right, I'll let you know. Yeah. I mean, I've got lots of books. You know, I've got every book ever written, you know, because of the information in there. But as far as the Bruce Lee connection, no. I mean, it was Ted Wong. I fell in love with Ted Wong. And watching him move and watching what he did, like I said, that's what I wanted. Makes
sense to me. The JKD Colorado has 2 logos. There's the parry with the low sidekick, but then there's the more interesting logo with the roots, and then the figure, and then the branches. Break that down for us.
So we talked about, so I've got a student in Arizona who was my student from California. His name's Carlos. Excellent artist. I mean, he's a great artist, and he knows me very well. And he and Dan talked about a tree, kind of as, you know, kind of like the family tree of life type thing. And they came up with this idea, and I said, "Go for it, Carlos. See what you come up with." And he came back with that. I mean, I don't think I made any changes. Came back with that logo, and I was just in awe. I mean, first of all, I'm a tree guy. Okay.
Right.
And, you know, so, I mean, so that fits right in perfectly.
Yes.
But then if you look at that logo, you know, it's got the roots coming up, and it's got the Wing Chun guy right dead center in the middle. He's kind of obscure. The Wing Chun guy, you kind of almost have to look for him.
Yeah.
And to me, or at least the way I teach Gcondo, you've got to look for the Wing Chun.
Got it.
Okay. Because there's very little in there.
Got it.
And then you've got the boxer, and you've got the fencer to both sides. And then in the middle, coming up, what branches and the trunk and all its blossoming,
Right.
is Gcondo.
Yeah.
And so it was like, that logo is perfect.
I loved it. I loved it. I saw it and I go, these are some thinking martial artists, that's that. I get that sense from, just from reading the script on the website, right? It seems like you guys think about Jeet Kune Do as much as you move in Jeet Kune Do.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And I think, they go in hand, and that's the cool thing about Jeet Kune Do. Well, any martial arts really. But Jeet Kune Do, is it for me.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that. What makes Jeet, because you wrote that too. So what makes Jeet Kune Do it?
In my previous experience from being a kid, practicing Wing Chun, practicing Jiu-Jitsu, dabbling in judo, dabbling in Thai boxing, dabbling in little things here and there, none of them fit the way I move naturally. Okay. And when I met Ted Wong and then started doing what he was teaching me, I realized that even when I was practicing Wing Chun, that's what I wanted to do. That's what my body wanted to do.
Right.
And I remember back when I was young and sparring with people, I was doing things similar to that and then told, no, that's not the way you do it.
Okay. Okay.
And so Jeet Kune Do's kind of offered me that freedom to be myself.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah. Are you talking essentially about like, I don't know, like dynamic explosiveness or something?
Well, I mean, as basic as strong side forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Starting with that. The stance itself, the on guard position that Ted Wong taught, it feels so natural to me, and it always has right from the beginning. Wing Chun stances seem contrived and difficult and, I don't know, tight, restricting.
Yeah.
Going from there, the movement of, moving in and out. I've got, the way I'm built, I've got big legs and I can push myself forward fast, side to side fast. And that's something that I've always been able to do. I'm built like a sprinter. Okay. And because of that, I'm able to, that explosiveness, like you were saying. Right. Jeet Kune Do offers me to be able to kind of explore that, whereas other martial arts really didn't.
So that is, because here it says on the website, referring to Bruce Lee, he believed that to discover the truth of martial arts, we must return to the roots of physics, psychology, and kinesiology. Now, from what you just said, I think we just touched on the physics and the kinesiology. What's the psychology part for you?
The psychology part for me is partially, not freedom from contrived styles, freedom from this is how it's done, this is the way things are supposed to be because somebody else said it's supposed to be that way. Right. And it ties right into the kinesiology, it ties right into the physics part, and that we do what we do because of the physics, because that's the most efficient way to do things as a human being. And so that's philosophical or psychological part of it that kind of ties all together, the psychological thing and the physical stuff. Yeah.
There's a picture of you doing a kick and it talks about the theatrical posing. What's that about? Yeah, what's that about?
So I picked a picture of myself doing something that's completely wrong, and randomly, it was in a video where I was throwing the kick, and I'm going, what the hell kind of kick was that? Anyways, but it kind of led me into a thought in that I see a lot of people that have these theatrical poses or theatrical movements built into every one of their techniques. I mean, I see a lot of guys, and it's not just Jeet Kune Do, it's a lot of different martial arts. Martial artists in general have that problem. And, they throw a punch and they hold it before they pull it back. Yeah. And when they do that, or, how many people have pictures on their Facebook page of them holding a sidekick out?
Right.
I mean, that's a theatrical pose right there. But there's a lot of people, when they're moving and they're training, they're shadow boxing, you watch them shadow box, and as they're moving, their punches and the kicks all have those theatrical poses. It's like, hey, look at me at the end
Right.
of every punch.
Yeah.
And it hurts you.
Yeah.
I mean, as a martial artist, that hurts you.
But you can't blame them because Bruce Lee looks so cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it makes you wonder, did Bruce Lee have to train those because he had them?
Mhm.
But he had to do that, I think, for theatrical purposes.
Oh, yeah.
He had to make it look good. So he
Yeah.
had to, he had to throw in the face.
Right.
He had to throw, everything, the
Yeah.
pose, all of it.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, because Gcondo people follow Bruce Lee, because we follow Bruce Lee, a lot of times we look at that and we try to mimic that.
Yeah.
And be in the process of mimicking that, we're hurting ourselves as a martial artist.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're screwing up our flow.
Right. Okay, so now you got to help me with this, because tell me if I'm doing something wrong then. Because if I tell my students, okay, grab the big kick shield, everybody knows we're going to do some sidekick practice. Mm-hmm. And I encourage them to have a mental image of Bruce Lee's sidekick from Way of the Dragon, let's say, in the back of it, right? Now, mm-hmm. I never say try to do what Bruce Lee did, but I ask him to have a mental image of the explosiveness, the effect of the kick, and what have you, and to inject that into their attitude. Am I encouraging them to be theatrical or what? What do you think?
Not necessarily. I mean, because you're promoting the energy, the explosiveness and the energy, so you're creating an image of energy. And that's one of the things that made Bruce so powerful, was his energy. Promoting that theatrical, the picture of whatever sidekick he happened to be doing. Mm-hmm. I've seen instructors train that. Okay, hold your leg out like this. And there's no separation between the movie and the actual technique, it seems.
Right.
A lot of people make it so that, you want to do it just like Bruce. Well, Bruce was in the movies and he was doing it for a movie. Yeah. And it's very different. And I know Bruce would have done it differently if he had to use it.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I mean, I remember it was years and years and years ago where I first learned the phrase theatrical JKD and how to distinguish and differentiate between that and functional JKD. Right? Yeah. How close in mentality were Bruce Lee and Ted Wong, do you think?
In many ways, very close, and in many ways, not very close.
Really?
I think mentally, personality-wise, Bruce Lee was much more of an artist-type person. He had that artsy feel. Okay. Things were philosophical for him. Ted Wong wasn't necessarily that way. Philosophy, Ted Wong was a scientist. Right. And he thought that way. He thought like an engineer. He thought like, and I don't think Bruce thought that way. Bruce thought from his heart. Yeah. And not to say Ted Wong didn't too, but he analyzed things in a different fashion than I think Bruce Lee did. Mm-hmm. And personally, I think it made it really cool because Ted Wong took what Bruce Lee taught him and analyzed it to the point where he could regurgitate it and reteach it, and in kind of not systematic, but in a manner that he's broken it down so well that you really understand the physics behind it. You really understand all the properties behind it that make it as effective as it is. Yeah. Where Bruce Lee was very intelligent, but a lot of ways, I think Bruce may not have been able to explain it that in depth as Ted Wong could. Yeah. Is it, I don't know if you've ever heard it, is it true that Bruce Lee is a little bit impatient as an instructor? I'd heard that, yes. Yeah. I've heard that. I heard that from Ted Wong. I also heard that from Herb Jackson. Both of them told me that. Yeah, yeah. Ted Wong was as well sometimes. But, really? Oh, yeah. I think that, why do you think that happened?
or could happen to people like them?
I mean, it depends on the person, depends on the personality, I suppose. But
Mm-hmm.
with Ted Wong, you know, his impatience, he was impatient sometimes. Like personally, I mean, I'll talk personally. I won't talk about anybody else because I saw it with other people as well. But personally, when I wasn't getting something, and he knows damn well I can do it, or he knows damn well that I should be doing, or he told me 3 or 4 times,
Yeah.
he got angry and snapped at me. And one of the, you know, one in my memory was head movement. You know, we were working on head movement, and I was doing kind of like moving just my head. My shoulders were staying in one spot. I'm just moving my head. And he told me I looked stupid. And, and then he told me to stop doing that. He said, no, move your head like this. And then he'd show me, and he kind of snapped at me, and I went, oh.
Yeah.
And I think after that, I learned. I got it after that.
Right. Recently we've been talking about the whole reject what is useless thing, right? In Jeet Kune Do, and you know, people had proffered different opinions and what have you. It said that Ted Wong taught what Bruce Lee taught him, right? So is it correct to say that he neither added anything else nor discarded anything? Would that be accurate?
No to both those questions.
Okay, good.
Adding something else, I mean, and that's kind of a rough thing, because a lot of people think adding something else is looking at, you know, for instance, I look at Savat, and I'm going to borrow a kick from Savat, and I'm going to start doing it with my Gcondo because I feel it's an efficient kick, or I like that kick, or I'm good at that kick, or I kick somebody with it once, or whatever. And then you add that, and that's to your arsenal. Ted Wong never did that. Now, did he subtract? Not really, because he taught what Bruce Lee taught him.
Right.
He had his preferences. He had some things that he didn't like. I mean, he didn't like an oblique kick, for instance, because it doesn't have alignment. It doesn't have power. You're compromising your balance. Several different things he didn't like about it. It disrupts the stance. Is probably the biggest thing.
Okay.
He didn't like back fists too much either. But those 2 things he taught. He taught them anyway. He didn't, well, it's no secret that he really didn't like trapping. Right. And but he taught it. And when he taught it to be true to his friend. Yeah. And to be true to Gcondo and pass down what he learned. Yeah. But he gave his opinion along with it. So adding and subtracting, that's it's a big subject. You know, my opinion with that is that, did he add to Gcondo? Yes, but not really in the manner that where he borrowed from another style and brought something in and that kind of thing. He extrapolated. Right. So
is the phrase latter stage JKD, is that a Ted Wong phrase? Do you know?
No, that's a Mark Stewart phrase.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And Mark, I don't like that. I don't like that phrase.
So what's Mark trying to say when he talks about latter stage JKD, in your opinion?
You know, what Mark's trying to say there, he's trying to differentiate between, you know, what Ted Wong taught and what Bruce Lee was doing at the end, rather than what Bruce Lee was doing in the Chinatown school, or what Bruce Lee was doing in Oakland, etc. Yeah. And differentiation, it needs to be there because it's very different. Right. And you know, personal opinion, I mean, they're almost night and day in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. They're almost completely different things. And it sucks, because what I do, a lot of other Gcondo people that are part of another era, another group, look at what I do and say, that's not Gcondo. But it is.
Who are these people?
Exactly.
I mean, seriously, who did they not see the branches? What is up with this?
I don't know. Know. But I get that every day. And, you know, the one thing, you know, you mentioned early on that I kind of came along quietly. Yeah. And that's partially my nature is I don't want to make waves. I've never wanted to. I've never wanted to be out there. But then I started making a bunch of videos, and the reason I did that is because I feel a responsibility. And in today's day and age, there's not a lot of people out there teaching representing what Ted Wong did.
Yeah.
You know, there are a few, but they're not a lot. And a lot of times there's just more talk than there is action. And I think I'm getting, you know, probably getting some flack from some people because I'm sharing too much.
Is that possible?
I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, you're not going to get it unless you practice it.
Yeah.
And you can't, from a video, you really can't get what's being done completely, you know, especially a 30-second video. So, yeah. But again, you know, I came along quietly because I don't want to ruffle feathers. I don't want to point the finger at, you know, this guy's doing Gcondo, that guy's not doing Gcondo. It really doesn't matter to me. I mean, as far as what I do, I know what I'm doing, and I love what I do, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, why can't we just simply put out what we put out, and nobody has to criticize anybody else? I mean, especially publicly, you know, like that part I don't get.
Right.
You know, if you've got an opinion on something, because I come from a generation where it's like, if you can't say something good, don't say anything.
Right.
You know, so I mean, but we're all family to a certain degree. We're all connected. So I don't understand why it is that you necessarily have to cut people down. I think by putting your stuff out, you can actually open up a lot of eyes. So there might be people out there with good hearts. They just didn't get the right information. You know, so then they come across, you know, something from you and they go, oh, look at that. What's this about? And I think that's the value of everybody's contribution, huh?
I think so. I agree.
Yeah.
I think so.
On the website, it says to find Gcondo, you must follow your own path. But now I'm going to pick a fight with you about a couple of these things, okay? All right. So says, but again, referring to Bruce Lee, but luckily he did leave us an important guide that teaches us how to overcome the obstacles that block our path. Is the curriculum the guide? What's the guide that you're referring to here? Or is a person the guide?
No, science.
Ah. Okay.
So, and following the science in the movement, following the science in you know, the strikes and the recovery and the balance and all those things.
Yeah.
That's what you follow. And if what you're doing follows the rules, I shouldn't say rules because they're not really rules, but they kind of are rules of science that they're scientifically found, then you're going the right way. You're doing the right thing. And does that answer your question?
Oh, yeah. So, okay, can I tell you a secret? Sometimes the questions are for those listening in.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
No,
you knew that already, right?
No. I'm kidding. Now, if somebody said, okay, I agree 100% with what you just said there, Mike. What's a book that I can get that from? Do I go to the Tao of Gcondo? What's a book that I get that from? Where do you send them?
There are very few books as far as what I teach and what I learned that exist, period. You know, Terry Tom's book, On the Straight Lead, that's got a lot of it in it.
Yeah.
That's a very good book. Her second book has got quite a bit in there as well. I mean, probably those two. But then I would go back to John Little's books. Unfortunately, technique-wise, there's not a lot discussed in those books. Most of that is history and his training routines and that kind of stuff. They're great books.
Yeah.
But as far as, you know, books that define what Gcondo is, as far as the way I practice it and the way I teach it, they're really... Oh, Joaquin Marcelo's book. Sorry.
That's a boss book.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, that's a good book. That's a great reference as well.
Do you know if he speaks English?
Joaquin speaks English very well. He's deaf, but he speaks English very well.
Ah.
But he reads lips.
Okay. So
in
this
English
might,
and Spanish.
so this might work?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
It probably would work. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I needed somebody to confirm that for. Okay, Joaquin, I'm coming your way then. All right, cool.
Good.
Yeah.
He'd be good.
Hey, is
Good.
there anybody else? I mean, I'm not done with you, but is there anybody else that you think I should have on the program?
You know, in the Ted Wong lineage, I mean, I would probably look at, you know, possibly Mike Rudder,
Mm-hmm.
Mike Rivas, if you can get a hold of him. He's got a long history with Ted Wong. He keeps to himself though quite a bit, but I don't
Yeah.
know. He might
Yeah.
be willing to do it. Brian Yaconelli. I mean, there's a few other guys. You and I can talk. I can give you a list of different people.
Okay. Nice. Nice. What do you know what is or was the major issue that Ted Wong saw plaguing Jeet Kune Do?
I mean, to be honest with you, plaguing Gcondo. The biggest thing to him, and I'm sure you've seen the interview that his niece did with him that has been on YouTube for quite a while now, where he talks about, you know, Bruce Lee giving us the roadmap and different things like that.
Yeah.
His biggest thing was that he didn't want to go to his grave thinking that Gcondo became something different than what it was.
Right.
And in that interview, he talked about, you know, he would be fine if Jeet Kune Do completely died away and nobody knew about it and it was just gone. But he would hate to have it to where they thought Jeet Kune Do was something different than it is.
Mm-hmm.
That plagued him. And that's why he taught.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I do as well.
Right. I was going to ask you if you had a similar issue that you think plagues Jeet Kune Do as well.
And it's changed. I mean, it's really has changed. And, you know, originally, and I know you're a concepts guy, no offense, but originally Ted Wong was battling, you know, the concept perception that Jeet Kune Do was only a concept and Jeet Kune Do was not a real thing. And
right.
So that was his battle to begin with.
Right.
And now that's still there. Although I think a lot of the concepts guys, I've got a lot of friends that are concepts guys that are very good martial artists and very respectful for what I do. Mm-hmm. And they realize it's very different and it's a different approach. And they realize what I do is what Bruce Lee did or what Ted Wong did and what, you know, Bruce taught Ted. Right. So I think that realization along in the community has come a long ways. Yeah. I think the battle now is I see Jeet Kune Do becoming Wing Chun. And I see more factions.
Oh, we'll put a stop to that.
Yeah, well, I see more factions of Jeet Kune Do people out there that are teaching just Wing Chun and calling it Jeet Kune Do. Yeah. You know, there's no footwork. It's all close range, wrong distance, wrong range. Yeah. So I think that's the next battle, unfortunately. Yeah. I'm going to tell you something, but this is part of my approach as a concepts guy. So when I watch you, for example, if I see you do 3 punches with your lead hand, so if you hit the jab and then you hit the hook, and on the way out, you hit the back fist, I train that with a single stick in what we call 3 count. You see? Because, and we train it left and right side in like a double stick exercise. And so the reason why I do, so there are 2 reasons why I do it. One, I'm training the art of Kali, right? So I'm training how to develop the ability to cut with a blade. But then when I take that stick out and I look at what my hand does, that to me is the crossover element for hitting multiple angles with the lead hand. Does that make sense? Oh, totally.
Yeah,
totally.
So, yeah. So to me, one supplements the other. You get what I'm saying? Right? So, yep. So I mean, there is a separation, but up here, for me, there is no separation. If you see what I mean.
I see what you mean. I would see what you mean. Yeah. You know, and that's something that, you know, Ted Wong and I talked about years ago, and it's kind of the reverse end of that. Okay. And where were we? I don't know, maybe a seminar or maybe something like that. Somebody asked about, well, how would you handle, you know, a knife? How would you handle a stick? I don't remember the weapon they brought up, but yeah, he demonstrated or he talked about, you know, if I had a stick, it would be just like I'm doing with this, just as the same as my strikes are. Yeah. So it goes both ways. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, if you learn how to punch, you learn how to punch with your hands, and you've got the body alignment, you've got you know, the correct footwork and the distance and all that kind of stuff down. Then you throw a weapon in your hand, and it's the same thing.
Yeah. I think sometimes what some of the other people forget is why we're doing what we're doing. You know, Jeet Kune Do, becoming Jeet Kune Do is the goal. So everything that you do is meant to serve that goal. It's not meant to detract from it. And that's the idea that I go to anyhow, but this is not about me. We do not mix other arts with what was learned from Ted Wong. So this is where I'm going to pick a fight with you. That's on the website. But then it says that Jason Howes brings his experience of BJJ to help round out what he offers. So I need you to mesh those two for me.
So Jason is kind of our token BJJ guy, and that he's good, you know, as far as using Gcondo to defend against somebody that's actually a grappler. I mean, how many times you see, you know, the boxer versus the Wing Chun guy?
I see what you're doing. You're making use of him.
Oh yeah, you bet, you bet. So Jason trained with me for probably 8 or 9 years first privately, right. and then after that he decided he was going to go do jujitsu, and I said, yeah, do it.
Right.
I mean, it's important. Yeah. Because that's one thing that Gcondo does not really have a ground game. I mean, it is something that it is lacking because Bruce never really got there as far as in his development or what he taught Ted Wong. I'll get to more of that in a minute.
Okay.
But as far as, you know, Jason, I pushed him to do that, and I push my students to do other things, much like I've got another student, Luan, that I pushed to a boxing studio because I wanted to him to get in there and train with boxers and get hit. Yeah. And which Ted Wong did that with me as well. And that's something that's important. So Jason, yeah, we use his experience as far as that goes, a little bit here and there, not a lot, a little bit here and there to make it realistic. Right. So that we're not defending against somebody that's not really a grappler. Right. Because otherwise it's useless if you just pretend. Yeah.
Well, you see, I think that's what is supposed to be the approach. That's why we're supposed to go delve into other things so that we can extract the understanding of it. And we, you know, and so we go into it with the Jeet Kune Do mindset of, I'm here to get an understanding of how Jeet Kune Do can work against this thing.
Where it goes too far in that is that if it's contradictory or if it's too like what we do already. So I'm a striker, right? If I go and I take another striking art, and then I start trying to figure out how those strikers strike. And in the process, I'm learning to strike like them. And then whether consciously or subconsciously, I start borrowing some of their strikes. Yeah. What ends up happening is I'm degrading my Gcondo. Yeah. And I'm borrowing techniques from that other striking system and messing my Gcondo up. It's screwing up the science because it doesn't fit. Right. So BJJ isn't a conflict because you're on the ground. It's not a striking art. So they're very complementary to one another. Just much like, you know, Olympic wrestling or something like that, very complementary to what Jeet Kune Do. As far as grappling goes, personally, I think wrestling is more complementary to Jeet Kune Do than BJJ. Okay. But you follow what I'm saying. The idea is not to learn other styles so you can borrow from them. And it's not really to learn other styles so you can learn how they operate. If you're a good enough striker, if you're good at what you do, you can look at another style and quickly assess what their strategy is, how they're deriving power, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. All right. Quickly, you should be able to. Yeah. If you're not able to do that, you're going the wrong way. You know, you're doing it the wrong way.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So what I was gonna ask you something else about oh, you were gonna tell me more about the grappling.
Okay, so yeah, as far as grappling goes, Bruce Lee did not teach Ted Wong a lot of grappling. I mean, it's obvious coming from Bruce's movies, reading the Tao of Gcondo, at various different sources, you could see that Bruce Lee looked into grappling. He had to have. I mean, he came from a time where in the United States, judo was fairly big when he was around. So judo being fairly big, he had to look at different people or different ways of defending yourself that way on the ground.
Yeah.
But he really didn't make it part of his Gcondo, and I don't think he really taught a lot of people. So Ted Wong, that's where I say extrapolated. He extrapolated from what Bruce taught him, and grappling-wise, he worked on anti-grappling, what he called it. And I think some of it, nuances of it, Bruce taught him, but then some of it he developed on his own. And the way he developed it on his own was looking at the science of what he was taught by Bruce Lee.
Right.
One of the main things was maintaining your stance.
Right.
How can I operate that way and defend myself against a grappler? He used his son. His son was a wrestler. So he would practice a lot in the backyard and have his son, okay, take me down, do this, take me down. What are the different types of takedown? Yeah. And he looked into grappling extensively and then looked at it from the point of view of a Gcondo guy. How am I going to defend against this guy?
Right.
Not what am I going to borrow from this guy, but how am I going to defend against this guy?
Yeah.
And he came up with great stuff. And ironically, a lot of the stuff that he came up with already existed in other places because, we only have 2 arms, 2 legs, and there's only one way to fight really as a human being. So all these things, you come up with commonalities there. You have to. So, I mean, that kind of leads to, as far as grappling and the Gcondo connection, I was lucky in the fact that he used me sometimes because of my jiu-jitsu background, and I got choked out a few times because experimenting.
Yeah. All right. So what I need because we got to start wrapping this up. So tell me, in your opinion, major impact that Bruce Lee made on the world and major impact that Ted Wong made on the martial art world.
I think major impact that Bruce Lee made on the world. Martial arts world was huge because he opened Westerners' eyes to a different way of fighting. He opened their eyes to martial arts, Oriental martial arts, period. Before him, I don't think much of it was real in our eyes. We saw the Kung Fu theater type stuff before him, but when he showed up, it became real. Self-actualization.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Self-actualization is another thing that I think that, and it's not necessarily worldwide or not necessarily mainstream, but self-actualization for us that knew who he was, he made that huge because he was a perfectionist. He was pushing himself. He was always trying to get better. He didn't waste time. And that was huge. I mean, I think that was a huge impact on lots of people. Now, as far as the impact Ted Wong had, I think the impact Ted Wong had was that his ability to break things down, like I said earlier, and pass things on in a manner that was digestible and in a manner that was true to what he learned from Bruce Lee was incredible. And then integrity. I mean, is the other thing, his contribution. He had more integrity than just about anybody I ever met in my life. And he didn't say bad things about people. He didn't. He was a good man. He had a good heart. He was a good man. And his actions were all noble. And I don't think I ever saw him do anything selfish. Yeah. And that was huge as well.
Okay. I wanted to ask you this. So if you were going to advise people who do want to investigate other things to enhance their Jeet Kune Do, this is my understanding of everything you've said, go into it with the science of Jeet Kune Do backing you up, correct?
You got it. You got it.
Yeah.
Go into it later. I mean, I wouldn't say that, a student has been practicing Gcondo for a year to go into a boxing club and start practicing boxing, because physically and mentally you're going to become confused between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have people on both sides saying, no, your fist should be this way, and
Mm-hmm.
you should be punching this, or you should step first, et cetera, et cetera. And they're both going to be trying to change you.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, you'll have to make a choice. And that's something I tell my students. If you want to look at other things, like I've had several students over the years that practice Wing Chun and train with me at the same time, because they think their Wing Chun is going to help what I teach them.
Right.
And I tell them I'm honest right out the front, and say, if you're going to do both, at some point you're going to have to make a choice. You're going to have to do one or the other, because they're going to screw each other up.
Okay. All right. So let's finish with this. I don't think many people knew, but you said it way early, about an hour ago, that Ted Wong played guitar. But I don't think many people were aware of that. So what's something about you that people would be surprised to learn?
I don't know if they'd be surprised or not. So I've got a lot of different things. I was a drummer for many years.
No way.
Yeah, so I played in bands and all that kind of stuff. My tree connection, the reason I'm into trees is I ran a bonsai nursery in California. I did bonsai for many years, which that's kind of had been my art release, although I've taken a sabbatical from it for a while.
Uh-huh.
And one of the things that, friends on Facebook, they all know I have a gigantic tortoise. And so he's fun. I have a tortoise that weighs 125 pounds.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he's part of my exercise routine, picking him up and moving him around.
All right. Well, look, Mike, it was a pleasure to make your acquaintance, and I really appreciate your spending some time here with us, man.
You bet.
All right.
Thank
All right.
you.
Keep doing what you're doing. I love it.
All right.
All right. Okay. Take care.
Bye.
All right. What a cool guy, huh? Okay, so everybody, that was episode number 97 of the Gcondo Dialogues with Mike Gittleson. You can find him on Facebook at Mike Gittleson. I should have asked him the best way. All right, that's it for today. You know the deal. Feel free to share it, like, comment, ask questions. And we'll review everything after posting. Sign up for notifications for when we go live here on Facebook. And over on the YouTube, please subscribe to the Gcondo Dialogues, to the I Love Gcondo broadcast, and to the FMA files. And when you subscribe, please hit the notification bell over there on the YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D. Woods. I told some of you, so let's see, let me make sure I got everything right. Next Friday, November 8th, it's confirmed, we'll be on with Matt Thornton of SBG and Hicks and Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And that should be at the regular time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. All right. What else? At ilovegcondo.com, the Quick Skills Series Volume 1 is still available. And I think that's it, right? Okay. So I'll see you guys, some of you next Wednesday for the I Love Gcondo broadcast, and some of you next Friday for another episode of the Gcondo Dialogues. This is Dwight Woods, the Gcondo Rebel, signing off. You guys enjoyed your weekend, and I'll see you next time. Take care now. Hey, Glenn's here with me, Sifu Greg Pichardo, Bob Landers, Bob Carmel, Dan Harris, Sifu Randy. All right, good deal. So it says Mike Gittleson is watching. So I should be able then to, let me just make sure something here. Yeah, okay, so the invitation's sent. So Mike, you just gotta keep an eye out for the little invitation button, and then you hit that and we get the show on the road, as they say. All right. Okay. I got a whole bunch of things going on here simultaneously, guys. Just, right. So, Okay. So yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Mike is out of JKD Colorado, and he is of the Ted Wong lineage. So this promises to be another really good dialogue, and I'll have some information for you on upcoming dialogue partners in just a little bit. All right, so Mike, make sure that you have your phone turned horizontally, because I've been told that that actually plays an important role in what we're trying to do here. So let's see. All right. Okay, so who else has come on? Dan Harris is here. Mitz Bandiera. Matthew Robert Robbins out of Guernsey. Good to see you. Brandon Bryant's here. Hey, Russell. Russell, now you're in California. You were in Nevada just a while ago. Okay, so Mike says he doesn't see the invitation. Hey, Hector Arvello, Paula Osborne, and I'm not going to mess up Wojciech Klimkizik. The guys at Tampa FCS, Eric Velasco. Hey, Cameron Rico and Ryan Kwan's here. Hey, Spencer. Son of Diddle. That's a good one. Gunnar Davis, what's happening? All right, Dean Leslie's here. So Mike says he doesn't see the invitation, guys. So we might have to set this down and ratchet it up one more time. Hold on. Okay, I just found out something important. Give me a second, guys. Okay, so this is completely my fault. This is completely my fault. I apologize, guys. Seems that Mike was on his computer, not on his phone. So as you know, if we try to do it that way, we can't we can't go live. We can't screen share. So let me see what he says here. Okay, okay. So he's going to try to get on his phone. All right. So let me tell you what's coming up over the next couple of weeks. I've been in touch with Matt Thornton. You guys should know Matt Thornton of Straight Blast Gym fame and renown, and Hicks and Gracie Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've been in touch with him, and he's confirmed that he will come on later in November. Also, I have reached out to Sifu Patrick Marcil out of Montreal, I think. I'm still doing the research on these guys. Sifu Patrick is the trainer for Letway champion Dave Leduc, and he's a Jeet Kune Do guy as well. And he said that he'd be very happy to come on the program with us. So we got this. I mean, we got Mike Gittleson. This will be exciting, but we got two exciting dialogues coming down the pike in just a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna go quiet for a while. You guys just talk amongst yourselves. Hey, Sean Foon. All right, and if you would be so kind as to say where you're logging in from, then Facebook likes to know that they've got people from all over the place. Bradford Namaho is here. Mark Stewart. Hey, Mark. Hey, Gunnar Davis, tell Beverly happy belated birthday for me. Michael Cristiano's here. Dave McCulloch. All right, Dave. I saw that you're starting JKD boxing with Richard Burgess. That's a good move. Thomas Lamont's here. Okay, I see Russell. Russell's posted in California now. All right, good one. Okay, so hey, Richard Torres, Dale Barger's here, Gail Nault, nice. Ike Gar. Yeah. So I shouldn't be on the phone here with you guys. I should be on my way up to Jacksonville. Sifu Asano is in Jacksonville this weekend for the annual Florida seminar, but I wasn't able to make it up there this year, so I'm here with you guys instead. Mark Tucker's here, Steve Slack. Hey, Tuhon T-Bone is here, Darren T-Bone is here, Scott O'Keefe, nice one. Sandro Castro, Mohammed Bosidi, Howard Hunt, all right, nice one. Okay, Mark Stewart has a question for us. How many JKD guys does it take to screw in a light bulb? Mark, isn't that the like one, but then like a bunch of people to tell him how to do it or something? Tim Bescherer, nice to see you. Kevin Malloy is here. Danilo Salvador, nice one. Okay. All right, just give Mike a few minutes. Ben Hullett's here. Oh, let me fill time. I don't have the coffee mug, but over at JKD Rebel /store, we've got some new swag, I think is what you guys call it. So this is one of the T-shirts that we designed that we have over there. I think it's a takeoff on the Game of Thrones thing, but what do I know? All right, so Mike Gittleson, adding him in. Everybody go like this. And I'll take all this banter out of the final edit video.